Estate Agency X, the UK's #1 estate agency podcast discussing the future of estate agency, entrepreneurship and business with hosts Mark Burgess and Rob Brady. So in this episode of Estate Agency X, I'm with Chris Webb, the owner of the estate agency consultancy. Chris goes through the story of him being an estate agent in the various roles he had, becoming a performance director at a property franchise group, and then deciding at that peak moment to quit it all, go travelling, and then off the back of it, come back and set up his own business, and how he helps and supports estate agents who are in those starting phases and trying to earn the first 100,000. So if you are one of those people out there, this would be a great episode for you to listen to. So Chris, welcome to the show. So for our listeners and anyone watching online on YouTube, give us a bit of background about who Chris is and how you arrived to Chris Webb today.
Yeah, absolutely. So estate agency through and through. So my first sort of proper job, inverted commas, was in the estate agency world. That was back when I was 18, which I won't say what year that was, but it was a little while ago. And I kind of started with the estate agency world. I liked it because it was very competitive. I'm a very competitive person. I like sort of competing against other people. I like winning, which aligns quite nicely with estate agency.
Yeah.
So I started as junior negotiator and worked my way up the ranks very quickly. I was one of those annoying people who would get to work like an hour early, turn everyone else's computer on, log them into the CRM system, log their emails in so they were ready to work when they got to work, sort of thing. Like, I know, looking back, what a loser. And I progressed from sort of junior negotiator, senior negotiator, branch manager, regional manager, and then end up as performance director with the property franchise group, where I was there for 5 years looking over lots of their branches, which was great. And then went out on my own coming up 2 years ago, effectively doing the same sort of thing I was doing with the property franchise group. But instead of saying, you know, these are your franchisees, this is who you work with sort of thing, obviously the beauty of having your own business is you kind of choose who you work with.
Yeah.
So I coach and train estate agents now, and I look to kind of double their business within 6 months is my goal with the guys I work with.
Awesome. So let's bring back to agency for you. So did you fall into agency like most people we discuss, or did you actually go, I've always wanted to be an estate agent? Where did that come through?
Somewhere between the two, I would say.
Yeah.
So again, an embarrassing story number 2, and we're about 3 minutes in. My mum opened the paper and said, here's a job as a senior negotiator over at Hamptons. And I thought, yeah, you know, I'm not really in love with property, but I like salesy sort of environment sort of thing. And I went for the first interview with the chap then, and it went all right in the grand scheme of things. Bear in mind, I was very wet behind the ears and not a mature 18-year-old. Like I probably was like a 16-year-old mentally sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the interview went well enough that he said, look, I'm going to get you out for another interview with the area manager. Do you have a suit? Because obviously I just wore like my school trousers and like the best shirt I had sort of thing. And I was like, oh yeah, I've definitely got a suit sort of thing. And then obviously soon I walked out the front door, you know, Mum, I need to go get a suit tonight sort of thing. So I ran down to Marks and Spencer's, got myself a suit, had the interview the next day and didn't get the job.
Was it a pinstripe suit though?
I think it was a black 3-button, which aged rather well, I think, on that sort of things. And so didn't get the job there, but actually the lots of things the guy was talking to me about on the interview, I was like, actually, that does sound quite fun and quite enjoyable. So I then wrote a letter to all the estate agents in the town, dropped it underneath all their kind of doormats on the evening saying, I'm Chris Webb, this is what I'm about, here's my CV. You know, do you fancy giving me a job, basically? Got a phone call the next day and then started the day after that. So sort of sort it out after finding what it was about. So before then, I had no idea what estate agency was, what it was about. But as soon as someone said to me, this is what your life would look like, then I kind of jumped into it with both feet.
So, and then what brand was that originally under?
So I work with Complete Estate Agents in Winchester.
And they were like independent?
An independent. So lots of people know Ian McKenzie. So
Yeah.
Ian McKenzie was my first boss. So Ian interviewed me.
Oh, wow.
And so that was kind of the school of hard knocks. So obviously Ian is what I would regard to as one of the best estate agents in the country. Really knows his stuff, to say the least. So I kind of worked with Ian for 5 years. And when Ian left the business, I left shortly after as well.
It's quite a mentor role.
Oh yeah.
Some people I listened to his sofa, like Dan before was great. He had a great mentor he spoke about, and other people have had, and then other people basically just said like, I just told here's a desk and just get on with stuff. So you must have learned. What do you learn most about from Ian?
Oh God, where to start?
I mean, not obviously like couple of top 3 things that you probably learnt foundational wise from him.
I think the biggest thing was the language he used to people. I remember Ian saying to me quite a lot, you know, it's not necessarily what they said, but it's the way they said it. And it's not necessarily what you say, but it's the way you say it to them, sort of thing. And it's all about the language and the words you use. Ian was obviously very big on a sort of grinding culture and kind of like really, hit the phones, guys. This is what we've got. Go, go, go sort of thing. And it was very much sort of a us versus them sort of mentality, which has evolved over the years in the estate agency and slightly more kind of collaboration over competition. But I was kind of bred to the fact that, we are the best estate agents. Everyone else is terrible. So when you pick up the phone, you make sure everyone knows that.
And you said, obviously, being that sales hunger that you've got inside you, that probably appealed to you because it was like a...
Oh, I was the worst.
Yeah.
Like, it's sad looking back. I say sad. I'm the king of one-handed typing because I'd have one hand on the phone, one hand typing, and the second that phone, even like half a ring, I'd be like, yeah, hello, how you doing, sort of thing. And when I remember going to the property franchise group, which was my first sort of role off the front line, I swear I had like PTSD because I've been like head office, and obviously franchisees would be ringing in to have a chat with head office, not like a sales inquiry, but just have a conversation. And I'll be like, anyone going to answer that phone? Like the urge is still there to be like, I'm going to jump over this desk to answer that phone right now, just in case it's something good. So that did take a long time to kind of wash out of my system, should we say? But it was a very competitive environment, and I was up against 3-4 really good negotiators who really kind of held their own. Lots of them are in the industry still, sort of thing. And my goal was to beat them at everything, if I'm honest with you. And that was lots of late nights and lots of phone calls and working harder and smarter as well. That would be on solicitors, financial services, sale agreed, the whole shebang. I kind of wanted a lot, to be honest with you.
And did you just stay in the 5 years there? Did you stay in one particular role, or did you naturally progress?
Yeah, so so when Ian left, I kind of moved into more of a valuer sort of role because Ian was the main sort of valuer of the branch, and so kind of moved more into that role to kind of, I wouldn't say replace Ian, but we had other people in the business as well who kind of chipped in on that side. But from those first sort of 3-4 years or so, purely sales negotiation. The role varies and whatever else it might be, but ultimately it's it's viewings, it's sales, it's financial services, it's solicitors. Go, go, go. The property comes on, we want that sold as soon as possible.
And then, so you go from there, and then how did you get into the property franchise group then? Like, how did that, because you how many, you and both me and you both meet a lot of estate agents across the UK. So like most people go sales negotiator, senior negotiator, valuer, senior valuer, branch manager, and then go and find another agency and you're doing branch manager or another sales manager role, and that's pretty much it until you just get fed up and set up your own. So go into that agency to then something like the property franchise group, and what size? How did that come out?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say I've fallen out of love with agency. I think that for example, I did my shift at Countrywide, which I think everyone has sort of a mandatory shift at Countrywide. And I think that kind of, I wouldn't say deflated me, but it took away a little bit of the love of estate agency.
So it was independent and then to Countrywide?
It was independent, then to a local franchise, then to Countrywide, then over to Winkworth, and then on from there.
Okay, so let's pull back into those then. Sorry, so, God, going from an independent to corporate, like Countrywide.
It was a change.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I wasn't used to the fact that...
Because you go from that entrepreneurial spirit and...
if it works, great. Like, I remember the first time I got sort of promoted from negotiator to senior negotiator or something along those sort of lines, I went, I'm going to go out today and I'm going to go out and I'll talk to all the developers locally in the town. I'm going to pick up their phone. They've got planning permission. I'm going to pick up the phone, have a chat with them. I'm going to walk on a building site and go, hello, I'm Chris. I'm your estate agent. And, can I sell your property? And I came back and Ian was like, well, you get a promotion off back doing that. He goes, I didn't think your heart was in it. At some stages, I didn't know you want a career out of this. Thought it was just a job for you. But now you're going above and beyond. That's what we want. So therefore, congratulations, you're now promoted as of now without asking, sort of thing. Whereas the corporate world is very much, there's lots of good things they do, and the training is usually quite good. I didn't really see much of it, if I'm honest with you, but I've been told the training is quite good. But I didn't necessarily enjoy the micromanagement point of view. It was, your phone, you need to get on the phone today and book this many viewings, this many valuations, this is what you need. And it's just like hammered over and over again. And let's have a conference call in the morning, let's have another conference call in the afternoon. And I get it. People have jobs to do and they have kind of, someone barking at them. So therefore they kind of bark at you, sort of thing. But for me, the worst thing you can do is kind of tell me what to do, which I know sounds a bit
No, but I think like literally, I was only just saying in this another podcast. When you get to a point where you're an overperformer, you have to craft and nurture that person in a different way to an underperformer.
Yep.
And if you are an overperformer that likes to break and create your own creativity, and you're in an environment that likes you to be an overperformer, but in their particular way, there's always going to be that friction. And I think that hierarchy down is every year goes by, I think less and less companies can operate in that way. Because people just, especially COVID, people have gone like, screw that.
Yeah, that's a big wake up call, and it's kind of with things like COVID, it was a big wake up to sort of the world and a state agency involved with that sort of thing. Who are going, actually, if I did die tomorrow, do I give a monkey's about this spreadsheet I've been filling by Monday? Well, probably not. So if we're looking at going, actually, what is important for you? So I left Countrywide well before kind of COVID came around, but it's about for me saying, actually, what do I even enjoy work? Because for me, if I don't enjoy it, you've not got my attention.
So you went from Countrywide then to Winkworth, yeah?
Yep.
And what did you do at Winkworth? Similar sort of role?
Yeah, so that was basically running the branch there, and looking after the team and valuations, etc., all that sort of direction, which is good. It was a different sort of world because for me, Winchester's quite an affluent market, but obviously I wasn't valuing back then. Whereas when you go to Winkworth, obviously you deal with quite high net worth individuals. You go around lots of houses where you're like, bloody hell, this is a big house sort of thing, and you've got a nice car sort of thing. I still remember my second valuation I went on, and the guy had 2 Rolls Royce Ghosts, exactly the same, in his garage, and I thought, I won't say anything because he'll think
your bathroom's the size of my lounge.
yeah, exactly. Do you think it's nice? Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a different world. That's where you got to deal with sort of the higher markeplace. So
and how was that adjustment for you?
Luckily, I sound quite posh anyway, so I've got that as my kind of that box sort of ticked. Took a little bit adjusting, but actually I found that it was, I wouldn't say an easier market, but they're easier people to kind of get on with. Because I would be used to the sort of cheaper end properties where you'd be arguing over like 500 quid.
Yeah.
And you phone up a person who's got a house at 1.5 million, you're like, I've got an offer at 1.3, and they're like, oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, that's 200 grand. Like, that's like a Ferrari I've just washed off in that conversation sort of thing. And when it comes to fees, they would probably, I wouldn't say appreciate it more, but where they are more affluent, they've kind of got more money to spend effectively. So it wasn't like, oh, my fee's 1.5%. And they're like, oh my God, 1.5%, that's 3 grand. What are you doing for your 3 grand? And can you drop it down by 100 quid, whatever? They'll be like, yeah, fine.
Yeah.
No problem at all. That's your fee. We'll go with that and kind of go ahead with it. So I still maintain the toughest negotiations I've ever had have always been on like studio flats.
Yeah.
And it's like arguing over like 50 quid or the washing machine or who keeps the dog or whatever it may be. Whereas the expensive stuff, actually, they've got the money to kind of split up there. Yeah. So it actually works quite well.
Perception of value, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. 100%. And they've invested in, nice cars, and they go shopping at Waitrose, and they see kind of the value of that stuff in their life. So why take your most valuable asset and just give it to the cheapest person?
Yeah. So you've had quite a multitude of different experiences. So it wasn't like you just independent way or a corporate way, and actually in some ways going from a independent to a corporate, you tend to learn a lot more different than from corporate to independent, because I see a lot of people struggle when they come out of the machine.
Yep.
And then they're told to like just get on, and they're like, oh, I don't know there's no rules here, or like there's no and I see a lot of the mindsets have to shift in that. So was Winkworth your last role in?
That was my last role,
in
kind of
traditional estate agency branch manager, and then
we got the front line, and then from there it was a property franchise group.
Okay, so how did that come about? Like, what was?
So I can't remember where I actually saw the advert for it. I literally randomly went online one day when I was hating my job at the time, or wasn't particularly happy. I thought I'm just going to see what jobs are online, sort of thing, and that came up, and I was like, actually, I tick all the boxes for this. Really, really nicely. I've spent, I've kind of been there, done that, and as far as I was kind of aware, got the T-shirt with regard to kind of my experience with regard to market-wise, and I felt like I was underutilized, which makes it sound a little bit arrogant, but I felt like I had a lot more skills to give than valuing properties and coming back and whatever. Like I felt like I had more to give, that side of things, and had the first interview with Nick at a hotel. So Nick Neal, who runs YouMove, and that was good. Went quite well. Nick's quite to the point, half an hour chat, yeah, great. Then had the second interview up at the Sheep Pen up in Leeds. So a nice 4-hour drive there and a 4-hour drive back to think about everything, which was great. And had to do a presentation to some of the senior staff there about the biggest concerns for a self-employed estate agent, or the biggest pitfalls and how to avoid them, sort of thing, which was first time I'd done a presentation like in that sort of way. So that was fine. It went well enough. I got the job. So that was fine. And yeah, so I stayed there for the next 5 years, which was great. I really enjoyed working there. Really good company to work for, good ethos, good team, etc. But then eventually you feel like
you need to just,
I need to kind of fly the nest. And I say this, I used to say to people when they used to sort of interview to become a franchisee, I'd say to them, look, if you want to run your own business, that's staying with you for your life. Your choices are either do something about it and put a line in the sand and go, right, I'm going to do it, throw my dice in and let's go, sort of thing, or you just regret it till you're 90. Like, it's either way is fine. No one's going to make your choice for you, but if you feel like you want to start your own business, that isn't going anywhere. You'd always look back and go, I should have done it when I was 30, I should have done it when I was 40, should have done it when I was 50, oh, now I'm dead. Like, you have to put a line in the sand somewhere or just regret it. So I kind of looked in the mirror on that. I was like, well, I feel that way. I feel like I probably could do this stuff, and therefore then put the line in the sand and then went, actually, let's do it.
So 5 years dealing with a lot of franchisees, people who want to become franchisees, people who are becoming franchisees, going through that process. So what were the good ones and what were the bad ones that you came through and you thought, what would you say are the good skill sets for someone to actually have their own franchisee? And like, you're not going to mention names, but like, what in your experience you come across where you actually you come across and you think you shouldn't have done this?
So I think the bit that I always found a bit frustrating was that you join a franchise because it's a proven model. It's like, E equals MC squared. No one goes, you pay a lot of money to, pay, 20 grand, 30 grand for that formula sort of thing.
Or 1 + 1 is 3.
Yeah, 1 + 1 is 3. There you go. Absolutely right. So it's a proven formula that works. The bit that doesn't work is when people turn up and go, I've got a better idea. I used to do so-and-so, and therefore it's now E equals MC hammer. And you're like, no, that's not the formula, that doesn't work, sort of thing. Trust in the process. We're telling you what to do. There is a plan. We've worked hard to work out this plan. Just follow the plan. And lots of people, or most people would follow the plan, and that was fine. We'd always find ones that kind of thought they knew a bit better because, I did this in whatever field, and I did this back when I was valuing, and it worked really well. And by the time that they sort of realised it hadn't worked for them and that they put all their effort and time into this sort of new shiny thing, they were like 6 months down the line, they're like, oh, I'm getting a bit thin on money. And you're like, well, no kidding. Well, should we now do what we say we should be doing, sort of thing? So, it's about kind of being wise enough to realise that you're not an expert in everything. And it's that is a maturity of individual, but also a maturity of person as well. My goal is to be the thickest person in my company, bar none. I want to employ everybody who is just so much better than me that I'm embarrassed I used to do that stuff. And that's where you almost need to have that maturity in your sort of mindset to go, yeah, great, you might be good at everything, but you're not great at everything. So if there's a proven formula that works, just follow the formula. That's all you need to do. So it's a little bit like banging your head against a brick wall sometimes when you're saying to people, look, this is what you need to do, just do it. So relatable because of in the job that I do, in the role that I do, we've got hundreds of agents that have gone through that same formula process, and you've got the end results like increased market share, increased fees, people were influenced by it. You can see the data. Data is the key thing. And then someone's saying, now actually, I'm going to do it this way. And it's like, just follow the process. And it's so true. The ones who just decide to deviate and do random stuff are the ones that usually a year down the line saying, it comes back to emotional intelligence out of all of it. It's recognising actually, I've made the mistake here and I should be doing this. And we either have some that massively do it sideways, like let's crack on with this, or others just fade off, and you can't really change those people because they need to change themselves first. And what was your most enjoyable moments in there? Because sometimes we have these conversations around like the bad times, and what was that? What have you got a story of someone who surprised you? Many. And it was a case that, so any time we'd have a new franchisee that would join us, they'd have a vetting phone call. And a few times I'd say to the guys in the recruitment department, I was like, touch and go sort of thing. Like, it's either going to be banging success or an absolute car crash. Like it's going to be one way or the other sort of thing. And sometimes they were car crashes, and sometimes they were absolutely amazing. And, you know, for me, again, kind of coming back to my competitive nature, my favorite time of the year, we used to have a conference every year.
Yeah.
And obviously there's awards in conferences. And, you know, awards are, you know, top franchisee, top earning, top exchanges, top financial services. And I was like, so I used to look after, to start off with, half the country. And I was like, I'm going to win all these. I want my guys that I work with to win every single one of these awards. It's an absolute, and as the awards getting called out, I'm like, 1-0, 2-0. You know, that is how I wanted to be, sort of thing. So, you know, for me, I like helping people. I like helping people succeed. So kind of like, you know, standing on the side wings of the stage and be like, yes, like I know how hard you guys have worked for this, and you're on stage in front of all these people saying, well done. For me, that's the best bit, bar none.
I think that's the ultimate role of a coach, mentor, and consultant, isn't it? You get the same. I had a friend who she does jiu-jitsu, phenomenal black belt in jiu-jitsu, but had some health issues at the time. And I said to her, you should become a coach. I said, because you're going to live. And she started coaching the female group, and she's starting to live her same feeling she has for the pupils that she's teaching, and them succeeding in winning the belts and the championships 100%. And the medals, etc. So I love that. I love that, because that's a different type of competitiveness, and that's a rarity to find, where the competitive is still inside you for you to succeed, but you're elevating others to succeed in your growth.
Yep.
And I always say, like, your growth is my growth to a lot of my clients. Whereas you can sometimes have the competitive streak that's selfish. Yep. That it's only about me, and I don't really care about anyone. So I like the idea of supporting all these people, but really I just care about my salary.
Yep.
I take my salary, and as much as I'm trying to say I like you, but really all I care about is me.
Yep.
I mean, that when you combine those two together, it becomes a powerful, powerful solution. So you're 5 years there. What? I know you obviously said you wanted to go on your own, but was there anything that was a pinnacle moment that you felt, there's a line that I'm going to draw?
Yeah, we can go as deep as you like into this. So I had a stage where there's lots of many good things of working with a big company. The bit that I didn't enjoy necessarily is that I was very much a middleman. So in the same way estate agents are middlemen to, you know, homeowners and buyers, and they feel like they're getting punched in the face from both sides, sort of thing. Similar sort of vibe to myself being sort of in that sort of role. And I kind of prided myself on being sort of the grey area between head office and the franchisee sort of thing. And they'd be like, Chris, can we do this? I'm like, like, you know, as long as you do it this way and this way, it's all right, sort of thing. Whereas they phone someone at head office, they're like, no, you can't. Like, that's something we don't do. But as long as it's for the greater good and it kind of works out in the end, and, you know, everyone's happy about it, then that's fine as far as I would see. So, you know, things would happen that were out of my control. So, for example, you know, prices would go up, for example. You know, franchisors like to put prices up, and, you know, that used to be included. Now it's no longer included. You guys, you pay so-and-so per month. And being that middle person,
you'd get there.
Your phone would ring for probably, no exaggeration, probably 2 days. And you'd get an email come through your inbox that you read it the same way everyone else reads it, saying, oh, by the way, we're putting our prices up by 10%. And you're like, can I swear? Is that right?
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Because you'd count to about a second and a half, and your phone just starts ringing on the table. And you pick up that phone, it's like, they're taking the piss, you're taking the piss, they're doing this and they're doing that, and I'm not going to pay. And, you know, I think to myself, this makes no difference to me. Yeah. Like, this is the franchise fee isn't going to my pocket, sort of thing. It is purely just, you know, the bosses have said we're going to put the prices up, and I'm in the firing line. So for me, that sort of wore me down quite quickly. And when you've got, you know, 10, 20 vendors, it's fine, and that's kind of not a problem. When you've got like 100 people phoning you, sort of wearing you down, it like eventually you start to sort of it loses the shine somewhat, should we say. And things that, you know, I used to see myself as, and I was very proud to be, a very sort of glass half full sort of person, and sort of would be like, yeah, great, I'm a happy guy and happy-go-lucky sort of thing. For after a while, I was like, actually, I kind of feel like shit, to be honest with you. And I'm actually, you know, I feel like I'm getting punched in the face left, right, and centre for kind of no fault of my own. And after, you know, it happens once or twice, you're like, whatever, you know, life's hard, let's kind of, you know, let's get on with it, sort of thing. But over months and years of that sort of adding up, eventually you're like, what the hell am I doing? And it kind of feels like, with a lot of that stage of my life, I kind of feel like I'd gone down a path that was, you know, writing letters to estate agents, putting letters under doors. And eventually it's like, oh, and I'm now a performance director of the property franchise group. And I'm like, okay, well, do I want to be here? Like, is this actually like the path I wanted to go on, sort of thing? Is that actually the route that I sort of wanted to go down? And ultimately, the answer was no, not really in the grand, because I feel that I had more to give than piling people into Zoom calls and webinars and whatever else it might be. I felt like, I was restricted by my environment. When you've got 200 franchisees that want your time, well, pick your 5-minute slot. Like that is literally it. Where I've got, you want to do more with people, and you want them to kind of succeed. And so, at that stage of my life, I kind of took a long, hard look in the mirror and thought, actually, what do I want? Which I know sounds a bit cheesy, but who is Chris Webb? What does he enjoy doing? Why are we not doing the stuff we enjoy doing? Why are we doing all the stuff that we don't like doing? And then we're wondering why we're unhappy.
Yeah. Because that's like a proper battle with your identity of who you currently are, or who you perceive to be are, and who you want to become, and who you'd like to be. Like you're in a child of like, I want to be this as an individual when I grow up, and then you're like, life takes over in an autopilot, and like you said, like you just, each year goes by, I'm just going to continue doing this because I need to pay salaries and I need to do this and do the cars and everything like that, and then sometimes it slaps you in the face and you go, what am I doing here?
Well, I would look at the people in the business and the people that were 10, 20 years older than me, and I'd look at them and go, do I want to be that person in 10, 20 years? If I'm still in this job, I could have stayed there for 50 years till I retired. Yeah. And that would have been fine. I would have been all right in the grand scheme of things, good money, good pension, all this sort of stuff, company cars, all that sort of jazz. Yeah, cool. No problem at all. But I would, as I mentioned earlier, I would have felt like I was missing out. And I would have felt like I'd kind of, I don't know, I'm trying not to use the expression bitched out, but I would have felt like I would have bitched out on what I could have done with my life and kind of just gone for the easy road.
And how did that take place? Like just before we got on camera, the previous guest Dan was saying, he had a management buy of this estate agency, and the next day he sat in an office and was like, I realised I'd made a mistake. And everyone perceived that he climbed his mountain and he got to the top and looked out and was like, this isn't the view I thought I'd see, and this is the feeling I didn't feel. So how did that stage leading up to it, like, you assume you had a partner at the time. Did you have those conversations about like, okay, right, I'm going to step out of this and this is what I believe? Like, how did you have the vision for setting up what you do now?
So I did what most guys do, and I think I'm okay to throw us all on the bus here. I didn't share anything that was going on in my mind with my partner in any way, shape or form. If she said to me how I was doing, I'd say I'm fine, which I know you hate. And I'd go, yeah, fine, yeah, it's all right, it's work, isn't it? It's all right, sort of thing. And then eventually we had a bit of I wouldn't say a big argument, but it was a fairly soft argument about, I literally can't even remember what. And basically after this, within 2 minutes of this argument taking place, I started crying, basically, which isn't very much like me. And then basically kind of, I suppose, fessed up, I suppose, is probably not the best way of saying it, to my partner, saying, look, I want to end my life. And that's kind of where I am, sort of thing, which obviously came to a surprise for her, as you might imagine, because I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, well, it's all right, sort of thing. And so after kind of sharing that with her and kind of going through that sort of route and that sort of journey, after that, kind of I was like, well, plan A isn't working out that well. I've done the route, I've done the sort of work hard and get promoted and sort of thing. And really, that's not worked out well. And so within, I would say 2 months, 3 months, I had quit my job. I had got rid of my beautiful BMW 4 Series, which I still miss now, to be honest with you. And shows you the price of motorhomes these days. I traded a brand new 4 Series BMW for a 21-year-old 3-litre motorhome. Who knew that was a thing? I'd rented out my house, which obviously we'd struggled to afford and kind of get on the housing ladder sort of thing. We then took that motorhome around Europe for 4 months. Wow. Then we flew back to the UK after that, and then went around Southeast Asia for another 10 months off the back of that. And then we got engaged literally about a week or two before we got back, sort of thing. And I'd love to say that while I was away, I discovered myself on a beach in Thailand and suddenly thought, I've got this amazing business model.
Full moon pie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you can remember a full moon pie, you didn't really go to it. But that wasn't the case. I literally came back to the UK and I was like, I went back to Property Franchise Group and said, look, I've been away. Can I have my job back, sort of thing? And I said to them, look, how about I work remotely? Because for me, I love travel. I love seeing new places. And I was like, okay, if I can kind of do that job and have the sort of freedom to be wherever I want in the world, that'll probably be all right in the ground. That'll kind of balance it out, sort of thing. If I could, if it's not pouring down with rain, I've got a nice beach and a swimming pool to go to, I'll probably be a bit happier. And it's came back saying, look, we can't do it, which kind of frustrated me because it was all remote. Like I went to the office probably one day every couple of months or so, like awards and quarterly QRMs and stuff like that. And which was a bit frustrating. And generally speaking, there was a kind of a survey run of the head office team saying who thinks Chris can work remotely, and everyone went, no, he's not working remotely. If I can't work remotely, I've got 3 kids, I can't work remotely, so he's not going to do it, sort of thing. And so it was like, no, you can't work remotely, sort of thing. And I was like, well, I know where this leads. If I come back and I continue this job for a long period of time, I know I've tried that already. And so I kind of, without sounding too religious, which I'm not in any way, shape or form, I kind of saw that as sort of chapter 1 of my life, and sort of this is sort of chapter 2 of my life, and sort of not born again, because that sounds a bit over the top, but it is that sort of direction. And kind of all the things that I kind of got wrong on the first bit of my life, I kind of go, actually, let's just do the complete opposite. Let's just do the complete opposite with my life from now on. So, back then, old Chris, I would really care about what everyone thought of me. I'd really care, like, oh, do I look all right in that picture? Or, God, putting a video online, not in a million years will I do that sort of thing. I was so concerned what everyone else thought about me that I would end up just doing what they thought I should do. And, we all live in a democracy in the UK. Everyone knows it's a very slow moving ship because everyone's got an opinion, everyone's got a thought, and you either agree with it, you don't disagree with it, it goes in a certain direction nevertheless. But actually, bugger it, it's my life. I'm the dictator of my life, and I can do whatever the hell I like. And so for me, one of the big things is kind of looking back at that stage of my life and go, what went well? Let's keep that with us with kind of Chris 2.0. But actually all the stuff, and I'm being polite there, that I used to kind of carry with me, that I just cared about what other people think, or thinking I was the best at everything, so therefore I couldn't outsource stuff. All these sort of things I used to hold on to that made me sort of stressed. I'm like, fuck it. It didn't work out in chapter 1, so therefore chapter 2 is not having that stuff on board.
It's a great story. Even though like anyone that's listening out there who is in an agency group where it's like they're a bit frustrated, they're like you said, they're living the life, they're just in autopilot, and they've realised they come to a point where they're thinking, oh my God, like, is this the life I thought I was going to have? Can be still relatable, even though you weren't an agent, but you were still in that same environment. And it's great to hear anything as possible. And actually, I think it's more of a case of breaking out of that mold and just and doing the opposite. Like you said, just doing the opposite of what I've done before would always naturally lead to something different. So you've come back, they've said no, and then you've gone, right, okay, probably I now need to set up what I thought has been that ick inside me for all those years. So how did the estate agency consultancy form? Like, did you have that concept in it, or did you I know you said you probably took some of the best bits you probably got from what you're already doing in your current role. Like, how did that start for you?
So I knew that I wanted to have a business model that was results based. I didn't want to be like, oh yeah, turn up for a day and we'll charge you so-and-so amount of money and best of luck it works out for you, sort of thing. Like, for me, that's not what it's about. I'm a competitive person, I'm a results driven person. I do not confuse effort and achievement in any way, shape or form. If you can win a round of golf and only take 18 shots, high five, you're the best golfer in the world. Or Kim Jong-un, obviously, or Donald Trump, one of the two, I'm sure. So for me, I wanted to start a business model that went, okay, what are the results people are aiming for, and how can we align ourselves as much as possible? So, when I was with the property franchise group and I worked with other franchises, I love the alignment of you do well, we do well. So I wanted to embed that as much as I possibly could do. So my goal with my business is to align myself as much as I possibly can with my clients. So if they do brilliantly, great, we do brilliantly as well. If they do terribly, we do terribly as well. So therefore, it means that we're very selective about who we work with. Because if someone comes to me and says, I've crashed my business into the guardrail 15 times in the last 2 weeks, and you come and drag it off, I probably could. But if they come forward to me and say, look, Chris, I've had a good chapter 1 and I want to jump to chapter 5, awesome, strap yourself in, let's go, sort of thing. So I spent a long time sitting down going, right, what aligns with our clients to make sure that we are on the same page with them. I didn't want to be some guy that kind of floats in and goes, hi guys, have you tried doing X, Y, and Z and do this and try turning up a bit earlier and whatever else, and then you just buggers off. I wanted to go, actually, I'm invested in these people, they're invested in me, I'm invested in them, they want to do well, I want them to do well. So everything else is built around that. So it took me a little while to kind of work that out. And the business is always going to be evolving, and I see my role as the man who helps his estate agencies grow. So if you come to me, I don't care what you kind of need. Either I can do it or I can point you in the direction of someone that can, but I kind of want to be a one-stop shop to say, I want to grow my business and get paid more money. Cool, great, well, come and see me. Either I can help you or I know someone else can help you, sort of thing. If you want more instructions, we can help out. You want to sell more product, we can help with that sort of thing. How we get there, that's the beauty of having your own business. If people go, I'm struggling with this, great, we can make a service that fits around that. Chris, can you come see us for one day? Yeah, I'll come see you for a day and do training with your team, sort of thing. But wherever possible, it's all in alignment. In the same way that when you sell a property, you're sort of in bed with the homeowner, inverted commas. I'm in bed with my clients because I want them to do as well as possible, because they do brilliantly, we do brilliantly as well.
It's a good concept, because the amount of clients I speak to, and they say, I said, like, oh, you went to this training event, and they come out, I go, what did you learn from it? What are you going to implement? And they're like, oh, I've got loads and loads of notes. And then I see them like a month later with coaching, and I say, have you implemented any of it? And they're like, no, I haven't yet done that. And it's like, why? What's the point? What's the point of going to those sort of events where you got a bag full of notes and then there's nothing involved within that? So to have that, I mean, like, we see it different when people join my core performance program, people have that same experience, like you the results have to come through because you're meeting up on a weekly basis or a monthly basis or whatever that is set up. But you're so right in that model, supporting clients, because I think there's a lot of agents out there who do a one-dayer, get so excited, and then they forget, because they go back to their office the next day and all the shit hits a fan, and they forget that actually 5 sales fall through. You're back to in crisis mode, and it's like, that notes will go in the drawer, and I'll get to it at some point. So it's a great concept. So obviously I've got your book, as you kindly sent me. No plug there at all.
I don't make any money off it. It's completely free.
Yes, it's completely free. Chris gave it to me. There's no past of money here. So what I was really interested, because of your experience and actually being relatively still fresh to having your own business in general, and what you've learned, you've got two sides to it. For people out there, and we know it, I mean, unless you've been under a rock, there's so many estate agency, self-employed partner models just coming through in the market, people talking about it. And whilst you've got some great ones and you've got some other ones, you question, you think, okay, there's so many other ones out there I'd probably work for over you. Everyone's saying that how great to be a self-employed agent is, how you're going to earn $100,000 a year easy. And it's, and even though some of them out there saying, it's going to be hard and you can still do it. It can sometimes be a bit biased on, because they have an invested interest for someone to work under their model to take, 20-30%, whatever that's going to be. So I wanted you to get you on really for here to run through being more independent, but having your background experience of dealing with franchisee owners, dealing with those startup people, and your experience of someone who might be listening right now who was you before you set up your business, who's in that role, who's getting tempted by maybe this self-employed model and that self-employed model and that self-employed model, and they're all telling me how good it is. And I might be in a corporate and I have no idea how actually it's going to be when you're out that cog, even if you're not even an independent. So some of the metrics that maybe you work with, or some of the things that maybe we can just give some listeners or what people are watching out there, some of the things you might be advising people. If someone come to you today and said, Chris, I've got some money set aside, I'm going on my own. How would you take that person in that first bit to earning that first 100,000?
Someone should write a book on that, really.
Yeah, exactly.
So first thing I would say is that being self-employed isn't for everybody. And I'll be the absolutely first one to say it. And it depends what sort of chapter you're up to with your life and sort of what your mindset is. So for a long time, I was quite happy being employed. And I would say to people, I'm quite happy to be employed, because I had a boss above me. If it's shit hit the fan, I'll be like, not my problem. Go up the ladder, sort of thing.
Still pay me.
Yeah, I was chatting to a friend the other day who's a deputy head at a school. And I was like, any want to be a headmaster? And he was like, nope.
Yeah.
He was like, they get to deal with all the crap sort of thing. I just deal with the nice stuff. I get paid quite well. If I get paid an extra 10 grand to deal with that stuff, no, thank you very much. So I'll be the first one to say that being self-employed isn't for everybody. Now, that aside, if you have kind of got that itch, so to speak, to kind of go self-employed, probably isn't going anywhere. So you've kind of alluded to the first point already, which is make sure your money is correct. So lots of people are like, you just need 1 month's money or 2 months' money. You'll be earning so much money. So you won't. categorically, the business model of estate agency in the UK is a slow and painful one. It takes a long time to get paid. It isn't fantastic. So I would say, in reality, you probably need, great would be a year, over 6 months, certainly. So let's say, 9 months in that sort of direction to 12 months in a perfect situation of money for you to live your life how you're happy to do it, to start off with.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to be looking over your shoulder very quickly. And those 6 months, 9 months, 12 months are going to come around very, very quickly. Yeah. So it's fine to spend money if you know that's in your part of your business plan.
Yeah.
But there's a very different feeling to going, I've got whatever, 20 grand in my bank account sort of thing. It's a very different feeling to it being topped up every month and spending money out of it to when it stops getting topped up and now it's 19 grand. Now it's 18 grand and now it's 17 grand. And you think, oh my God, that's going down pretty quickly. That's a very different mindset. So step number one is make sure you've got your money right. Make sure you've got, not even a business plan, just make sure you've got some idea about what your outgoings are, what your incomings are, and what to expect to spend. That's kind of, probably number one and number two. The number three in that case would be, don't hold back. Lots of people, especially in the UK, we've got this terrible habit of being like, don't tell anybody, but I'm starting a business very soon.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, all right. And they go out of business because they don't tell enough people. You literally need to, get the fanfare, get the band out sort of thing. I'm doing this. I'm an estate agent. I'm texting all my friends. I'm putting it on Facebook. I'm doing video content. Maximum attack from day one.
Yeah, because it's like, I've done one post.
Oh yeah, I've done one post.
I'm owning a business.
Why's the phone not ringing?
Yeah.
Like, it's a bit like, okay, fine. That's the hardest bit, is that sort of initial sort of like, I'm doing this, by the way. But you need to be like banging down people's doors and saying, this is what I'm doing. Do I think that any estate agent in your town is going to be like, congratulations, welcome to the estate agency circle. Here's 3 instructions per month. Would you like a completion to go with that?
Yeah.
Not in a million years. They're going to be going, hang on, that's 3 less instructions for me. That's 1 less completion for me, sort of thing. So you need to kind of get your elbows out and go, this is my business, this is what I deserve, and I'm getting on with it, and kind of nothing stopping me from doing it. One of the conversations I have with sort of pre-clients before they start working with myself is I'll always say to them, what's plan B? If this estate agency lark doesn't work out for you, what are you going to do? And the ones that go, if it doesn't work out, I'll go do it, you're not a client. If they go, there is no plan B, I've literally just set fire to the boat behind me, and here we go, sort of thing. Awesome. Like, let's go, sort of thing. Let's go and have it, sort of thing. So for me, it's about having that full commitment to what you need to do with it. Because as soon as you start to get this sort of desperate for the money side of things, you start getting desperate in front of your clients and going, oh, please, I'll do it for 0.5%, I'll do it for anything, I'll pay you, sort of thing, which isn't attractive in any way, shape or form. So you need to have that set up first of all, but you need to make sure that everyone knows who you are, because the biggest issue for most businesses in the UK and the world, does anybody even know who you are? If I'm looking to upsize, do I just go to the yellow page or Google and just start typing? Because there's guys in town who've been there for a lot longer than you have, and they'll have more 5-star reviews, more pictures, more links, all this sort of stuff that'll come up a lot quicker. So you need to really get your elbows out and go, this is what I'm doing.
Because I think that's where obviously a lot of people struggle with the going from corporate to try and setting it up. They see, that person's earning a load of money, they're in this business, so I'm going to go and do that. And then they get really burnt into that first bit because someone's saying like, now you got to remove that mask, and you said you couldn't do anything on social media, and now you got to do the opposite, like you said, and actually be you on camera and be that, not post it behind some little image you've made on some like AI program and AI text. You have to be you to get people to actually understand why you exist, why you serve those people. And any other stages to that? So you've got make sure you've got some roadmap of a 12-month plan, financial side to it. You've got to understand actually you've got to really go from the crackers of like have actually a decent marketing plan in place.
I think that it's all about, so these days it's all about being omnipresent. So you literally need to be everywhere, and there's really no excuse. And in hindsight, the bits that I've enjoyed of being self-employed the most is trying to sort things out. For example, we'd set up the business email account, for example, Chris that sort of thing, and it was suddenly going to people's spam folders, and I'm like, I'm not an IT guy, but if I go on YouTube for 20 minutes or so, they're like, I'm copy this bit of code into your email, and then it's sorted. I'm like, awesome, that's big sort of thing.
CNAME, weather record, and whatever that is.
Exactly. And things like websites, like I built and do our own website sort of thing. First one I did, it was shit. Really, really, like it was literally like a stock image and whatever else it may be. But it's got to the point now I think, actually, I've done the right job there, sort of thing. So it's about kind of looking at it and going, we need to be everywhere in front of people, because you might be the most amazing person on Facebook, but if I'm Mr. Instagram, I'm not going to see you ever. I only read the paper and you're not in it, or you're not doing editorials in there, for example, or I don't see you for sale board, I won't know who you are. Most people can only name 3 estate agencies in the UK when they're walking around. You need to make sure that you're on that, because the agents that do really well understand that being an estate agent is part of the deal. The viewings, the valuations, offer negotiation, all that sort of stuff. Actually, the bigger pie that people are missing is being a great estate agency owner boss.
Yeah.
And that's actually, looking at your business and going, where am I spending money? What's my return on investment? What advertising am I doing? What should I be doing? And it's kind of that boss/employee mentality. And lots of people have the employee stuff because they're used to that. They're used to kind of being the person who does the viewings and the valuations. They're absolutely great at that, but they haven't got that second voice in their head going, hang on, mate, you need to go door knocking here. We're looking at the figures next month. We're dropping down on market appraisals. We need some listings through, and you're sat on your backside watching Netflix.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think you're doing? So just because you're a great estate agent doesn't mean you have a great estate agency around you.
It's good, and it's quite interesting because I see a lot of people when they initially start either as a self-employed or going under a partner-led model. A lot of them say they fall back into that role of being loving a stay agency. They've been in a business and then they've decided to go under it. But then there's that, like you said, like that's the first stages of like the year of that excitement, and then you have to actually run back to you're not just an estate agent again. You've got a business to run.
Yep.
And unless you work that out, you're literally going to be stuck on that month by month. Just the low-hanging fruit stuff you've got to try and find, and that gets really exhausting without it. You strategically planning out, how do I get people that are 6 months away who are looking to move? How do I, like omnipresence, where do I find those people? What's my ideal market? And, even like you said, omnipresence, like, recently with TikTok with America, proven point.
Yep.
You'll be massive on TikTok, a massive following, and over like, nope, government says no, you can't be on it. And then you're like, shit, what's the next channel do I go on? And I've got to build up that. So it's quite right. Even if some are hot, you've always got to stay consistent on some of the others. So it's a good point. Got a question though for you on that, off the back of that one. If you were to go back into agency now and set up your own model, would you do it yourself or would you go under a partner model?
Good question. What would I do? I would probably, depending on the financial situation, because that's a big sort of question mark. If I had the money to do it myself, I'd back myself to do it myself. If I didn't have the money to, because obviously, Rightmove adds up very quickly. They're not exactly called cheap in the grand scheme of things. If I didn't have that cash flow there, I would partner up with the model. I think it's a softer ground to land on. You've got obviously things like, what you don't want to do is spend your first sort of month sorting out your CRM system and your website, how that looks, your business cards, your logo sort of thing. I always think that lots of your sort of a brokerage is sort of worth, let's call it, and a franchise is worth as well, is paid for in the first sort of 6 months or so when you first start up, because that's when a lot of your training is. That's when a lot of, here's your business card, we've done your logo for you, we've done your website for you, that's all sorted. After that, it's kind of like, just keep going sort of thing, more of the same. You get your monthly, training and whatever else it may be, but it's very kind of heavily weighted towards the front. So if you can financially afford to actually do it yourself and start from scratch sort of thing, fair play, go for it. And I've had lots of clients sign up with myself who have done exactly that, and I've gone, fair play. If you can afford to do it and you keep 100% of what you earn, great, go for it. You can literally do whatever you want on that side of things. But other people come to me and they go, actually, I want to go for the brokerage model. Fine, no problem at all. As long as the people understand the pros and cons and kind of what they're kind of getting into, I've got no problems at all. So there isn't sort of one glove fits all, but it's kind of a right path and a wrong path. And sort of one of my favorite jobs, in a very sad sort of way, that I've kind of just found by default, is people phone me all the time who are going self-employed or in corporate agents at the moment and going, I read your book and whatever it may be and listened to your podcast. I'm thinking about joining X, Y, and Z. Are they good? And I'm like, yeah, well, they're good at this, but not so good at that sort of thing. If you thought about talking to this person, that person, just shop around a little bit to start off with. Well, I'm not a fan of people kind of being sold the dream, wedged into a box with everyone else sort of thing, and then be like, best of luck, make it work. Hopefully see you at the Christmas party. Because the fall through rate and kind of the bankruptcy rate, probably not the right way of phrasing it, of agents when they go self-employed is massive.
And that's the thing that is not talked about.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I see it every single day. So we, as a business, we email out once a week, and we email out to about 2,000 people, pretty much entirely self-employed estate agents. And so every week I get an email back saying, this has bounced, this has bounced, this has bounced. And so I see it every single week, the ones I'm like, oh, they've closed down. Oh, they've closed down. Oh, they've changed to this brokerage model sort of thing. So no one talks about it because no one wants to do like a closing down post on social media or anything like that at all. but it is happening. Without sounding too up my own backside here and sort of bragging or anything, the reason that I wrote book number 1 is literally for those people.
Yeah.
Because I do not want anybody to have to go down the business.
Yeah.
I look at it and I'm like, we live in the UK. Yes, fees could be higher and they charge 5% in America and whatever else maybe. But we have some of the most expensive properties in the world. No one should be going out of business.
Yeah.
Whether you're selling 2 a month or 20 a month, no one should be going out of business. So literally the job of your first £100,000 estate agency book, which you can literally get for free, is to go, actually, this will give me a foundation for a business where I can earn some decent money. Because I don't want anyone to be in a position where they turn around to their partner and go, I'm going to jack it in. I haven't got any money left.
And I think that, and for anyone listening, I recommend getting that book and reading it purely because, we don't really tend to have with our type of clientele because we have a buyer persona, a particular buyer persona.
Yep.
We have probably operational level where someone's relatively established or someone who's about to move into operational level. They've just gone beyond that. But previously in the past, when we originally launched Lifecycle, before we moved into that market, it was a marketing system. So we had loads of different people to talk to. And there was always a difference between someone who had literally just gone, I've had enough, I'm going to set up my own.
Yeah.
And someone calculated going, this is my strategy. In those sessions, you'd come to it as a coach, you'd just be facilitating the accountability towards what they're looking to do.
Yep.
Compared to the other person that's saying, can you tell me what I need to do next?
Yep.
And you're like, what do you mean? What do you mean to do next? It's your own business. What are you going to start with? No, it's a good insight. So yeah, recommend it. Another plug. Recommended to have that. So, So you've said obviously you want to make sure that you're results driven. You're a results driven consultancy, and obviously your belief is that no one should be going out of business in the first year, and is it that 100,000 is possible if you follow some framework. And I've noticed in the last year, or probably in the last year, 6 months, you've sort of grown.
Mm-hmm.
Like what's your how do you operate with those people who are in those starting phases?
Yep.
Who might be looking at, okay, I probably need someone to partner up that's not a part of these models. If I want to go on my own, what are those next stages and how people can work with you?
Yeah, so for us, it's about, day one is let's just make a plan. And lots of times, the conversation I have on a regular basis is agents go to me, fantastic, I want to get more instructions, I want to sell more properties. And I'll be like, great, cool. Tell me about your marketing. I don't do any marketing. It's like, right, well, call me Sherlock Holmes. Tell me Sherlock Holmes here. Yeah. I've worked out your problem in about 2 seconds sort of thing. So let's just start with that. Let's start by just getting some leads into business. Yeah. Let's start getting your phone ringing. Let's kind of get things going. So that the sort of analogy I would use there is let's just turn the tap on. Yeah. What you don't do when you want to water your plants is do a full sort of structural survey of your hose and go, there's no holes in it. We can turn the tap on. So what we want to do is go, right, let's just get some business coming through. Then after, 2, 3, 4 months or so, we can take a step back and go, actually, what's working well? Where are our pinch points? Where can we get rid of those sort of thing? Yeah. And ultimately, it's about talking to your clients to actually understand what they want. It sounds a bit sort of over the top, but what's their dream for their business? Do they always want to be a one-person band? Great, well, we can make that happen. But there's a very different route to go down if you go, actually, I want to have a team of 15 negotiators and salespeople go around me. You're like, okay, well, we need to build this in a different way, sort of thing.
100%, I get that,
So it's about understanding what their goals are and then going, literally, okay, this is our blueprint to start going forward. And us as a business, we've got kind of a proven formula that works. And it's like, this is our proven formula that will work for your business from start to finish. But I do not want you to copy and paste our proven formula. Yeah. What I want is us to go, here's our proven formula, and for you to go, actually, I'm going to jazz some of my own sort of fairy dust on top of it, because I don't want a bunch of Chris clones. One Chris clone is good enough, thank you very much for me. We don't need more of it. So therefore we need to make sure we have your own touch and our own sort of element to that. And
that's a good way to look at it, because the amount of times you see something on social media where someone says, I've got this, if you comment below, I'll send it to you. And everyone's like, yes, please. And there's like 50 people and you're like, just 50 people are going to be doing the same thing as everyone else, and then everyone's not going to be different. You have to put your own sprinkle in it. I mean, it's so relatable, Chris, so relatable. When I speak to clients about marketing, for example, someone says, I want to do my conversion rates. I'm like, what are you converting? Like, have you got any valuations? No, I haven't got any valuations. Okay, well, sod that part. Like, let's try and actually generate them coming through. Or the articulating on who are you as a brand, what you represent, not just we just sell houses. Storytell, be authentic, be different. I mean, massive passion. We could probably go on for another podcast on that.
I think that people spend a lot of time trying to be other people.
Oh,
and
100%.
it's kind of lapping back to sort of, Chris 1.0 and Chris 2.0.
Yeah.
I spent a long time trying to be someone else. And actually, Chris 2.0, I'm like, actually, I'm just going to be myself. And either you kind of love me and think Chris is all right, or you think he's a bit of an idiot. Either way, that's absolutely fine. You're welcome to opinion, sort of thing. So don't kind of just go online and go, actually, I want to be the same as everyone else, because I will never be as good as you, Rob, at being Rob. No matter what I do and how many ice plunges I have in the morning, I will never be as good as Rob, sort of thing, at it. But if I actually just go, bugger it, I'm going to be the best Chris Webb I can be, no one can compete with that.
Yeah, exactly. So where can people find you the best? Communication wise, if someone is listening and going, actually, a part of my strategy, I want to go on my own. Where can people find you and then have those discussions?
Yep. So we talked about omnipresent marketing earlier. I'm not a hypocrite. I'm literally everywhere. So you can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. You can go on our website, estateagentconsultancy.com. You can grab our books literally free of charge. You want a PDF version, you just download them straight from our website. You have to enter your name and email address and get a few emails off the back of us, but not a bad trade for 6 months of my work. And so we are literally everywhere. YouTube, you can't avoid us, hopefully. So drop us a DM and we'll always come back.
And one last one, a quick one. Where do you see the future of estate agency maybe in the next 2 years?
I see that the brokerage models are going to grow and the self-employed movement is going to grow. And I think the personal estate agent is a big thing, and that's going to get bigger and bigger. And the sort of the local celebrity of being the local agent growing. Maybe celebrity is not the right word, but everyone knows who you are. And I always go to Paul because he's the best estate agent in town. In the UK, we love the underdog. We love the up and coming. We don't really like the people that are up high. We like to kind of kick them down a few pegs, the old crab mentality sort of thing. But people love a success story. We love an underdog. We love people doing well. So, that is for me the direction it's going to go in. It's in people that are going to be sort of digital mayors of their town, as Chris Watkins would say, and say, they are the expert in my town because that's where I go to and I watch all their videos, I listen to all their blogs sort of thing, I see their podcasts, I see this stuff online. They are like, Mr. Insert your town here, or Mrs. Insert your town here. Why would I not go with that person? Yeah. And it's that is where it's going to be. And it the expression personal brand is a bit these days. People don't like the expression of it, but it is all about personal brand, and it works. I without talking too much about myself here, I appreciate I'm being interviewed on a podcast. It's literally me talking about myself. I used to hate social media. Never post on social media. Like literally would cringe away from it. If you look back about my actual social media, the only post I would have put up is me getting engaged because I was politely encouraged by my partner to put that online sort of thing. Outside of that, I wouldn't do it. Yeah. But you need to get yourself out there. You need to put your brand out there. You need to get these things in front of people so they know who you are. They know you're the expert, and they know you're the person to go to. So people will either get that or they won't. Yeah. And as a sort of a nice thing for people to aim towards, it takes a lot less work than you expect to get well known in your town. There's so many people who are nervous about putting themselves on video or a picture of themselves online and actually putting themselves out there. Christ, you post 3 times a week with a video of yourself, they'll be like, I see you everywhere. I watch all your video content.
I think so. I'm opened up another question, and I realise we've got coming to an end. I think Daniel Precia, he came to our EAX event, and he was on Divers here, and he said 1% of people on LinkedIn are creating the content, and 99% are consuming it. Yep. So it just goes to show the sheer amount of people that don't post anything are watching. Yep. I mean, I went to a butcher's the other day, passing, and saw a guy that sold a house for 10 years ago, and he was like, mate, see you everywhere, those cold plunges. And I was thinking, you never liked to anything. So it just goes to show the amount of people that
silent, it's all about that silent audience. Yeah, it's all about the people that, you might get 1 like, you might not get 2 likes, etc. on your post or thing, but it's all about that audience that, just see your stuff day in, day out, and you're going to market appraisal and they're like, I watched your video on so-and-so, and you think to yourself, no one watched that video. Got 2 likes sort of thing. They're like, they watched it and it went well with them sort of thing. So I think we get very you're always misjudged by the numbers these days. My average LinkedIn account this week, I'll get probably 10,000 impressions a week on LinkedIn. I'll be like, oh yeah, good week, 10,000 impressions, 10,000 whatever, 20,000 impressions. But actually, 10,000 impressions. If I was stood in front of 10,000 people right now, I'd be shitting my pants. Yeah. It's literally so you always lose track of the numbers sort of thing, and how easy it is to open up to that many people in your world just by putting your head above the parapet. And the fact that everyone else is terrified of doing it, makes it an open goal for yourself.
Puts you in a 1%.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed today, Chris. I appreciate you coming.
Thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to this Estate Agency X podcast. Can you make sure that you're actually subscribed to this podcast channel if you liked the content? It helps us massively to get better guests, and it just helps us generally. So you might think you're subscribed, but just have a double check, whatever your podcast platform of preference is, that you're actually subscribed, and then that way we can continue to grow the channel and get better and better guests for you.